Why are you running?
I had a lot of people encourage me to run. I've always ran for office only because I believe that there's a need to have the conversation. I'm not a fan of people just walking into the seat for free. Example, if I didn't run for a state house seat, someone just walk in, just automatically get reelected. I believe that there's some things that just need to have the conversation or see some accountability versus I'm a good person and I just go into the office.
Tell me a little bit about your priorities or your platform.
I really am not trying to go into this office with an agenda. If I was running for like a state house seat, I'd probably have a list of things. One thing I believe as I get a little bit more mature is I do like to ask people at the door like what's like important to them because it's not really about me. It's me going there on their behalf versus this is what I believe in and you should too. It's more of like, well, what has changed in your life that maybe I don't know or understand because I don't know everybody's story, and I'm not going to know unless I ask questions and meet them at the door. Versus, I was taught that this was the thing to do, so this is what I'm going to do. It's a different style.
All right. Tell me a little bit about you personally, like places you like to go, restaurants you like to eat at. What? Tell me more about you personally that people might not know about you.
Oh, well, before COVID hit, I was actually a national speaker. I was traveling around talking to colleges and universities about the dangers of drug and alcohol awareness or distracted driving simulators or do like a trivia show. And those students enjoyed it. Sometimes they won money, sometimes they learned things, and it was a experience. And the great thing about traveling the nation for 9 school years is there's a lot of great subcultures all over America. Like even words that we use here in West Michigan doesn't necessarily mean the same thing somewhere else. So I think that's what makes me stand out different than other people. I'm not your traditional cookie cutter. This is what I believe in, how it's always going to be. It's just always good to hear other people's story. And I get to see the mountains. I get to see different beaches. I get to see restaurants that are not in Michigan or places that are open 24/7. That we're going to close at 10 p.m. So I like to try new things. I like to have the experience with different people. So that's kind of what I enjoy to do. If I have a chance to see a restaurant that's not in Michigan, I'm going to go check it out. Or if it just comes in the area. But I don't have like one thing particular that really stands out. It's more of enjoying the moment with this experiences with other people.
Why should people vote for you?
Because I'm consistent in my character. And what I mean by that is if anybody looks up my political Facebook page, I left everything up that I've done since 2016. That way people can see if I'm still quote unquote grassroots or not, or if I've grown or not, if things have changed or not. I was one of the people that used video probably before it was cool in politics. Um, I I think people should vote for me based on my character and how I would articulate things. It's not because I have everything together. It's not because I have everything going perfect. It's basically the fact that I have the ability to see things in a different perspective than most people in my party, than most people are in West Michigan, because I've been around the nation. I've been around different circles, and it's just interesting to know that it seems like it's based on how people are raised. Uh, when it comes down to a belief system. That's why people should vote with me, is because I'm willing to meet them where they are.
Okay. Um, Obviously, I've been covering Ottawa County government for about 2 years now.
Yeah,
What are your thoughts over the past year and a half to 2 years?
you know, it's interesting because Ottawa County gets a lot of attention, and I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I'm not really into like quote unquote bad publicity. Sometimes the cage needs to be rattled enough for people to wake up if things are going good, bad, happy, or sad versus government is boring and there's nothing really to attend. They're just going to talk about how to fix the roads eventually. Um, I think it's great that people are showing up and having their emotions invested about why they like or don't like what the board is doing. And I'm also learning more about myself. Like, I don't want to just be a guy that runs just because he wants to run, because that's not the case. It's like I need to understand what actually happens at the county, because people say this is what we can do at the county. Other people say this is what we can't do at the county, and it's like, well, I should probably just go look things up myself. So I just think it's great that people are using Ottawa County Board of Commissioners even as a venue of speaking their piece because people are watching there versus other counties, I would say.
That is very true. A lot of people have definitely been paying closer to attention to Ottawa County government. You talked about accountability. How do you plan on holding people accountable within the Board of Commissioners, considering you would be a Board of Commissioners?
You
If
know, yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. To me, it comes down to getting the facts, paperwork. Like you said this in one meeting, the document says another. We need to address this because if we don't address it, guess what? People in public comment are going to address it, which is totally fine. That's why it's there. Um, Without actually using a particular topic in particular and talking to go more in depth, but I will say I would govern different than my opponent. I would say I would articulate that message different than my opponent because I think of this like there's a lot of revenge politics. I was once a part of that in 2016 or 2018. But as of lately, it's kind of like if we don't establish a rapport or establish a better relationships with our neighbor or with a fellow board county commissioner, it's just going to be like I'm always going to be a yes, I'm always going to be a no, and nothing moves the needle. And trust me, I know that there's a lot of people who are set in their ways, but maybe somebody has not articulated that message like this is why we need X, and you're not looking at that versus I just disagree with you.
okay. Um, you said you don't have an agenda. It's fine. But like, what were you hearing when you've been knocking on doors? I'm assuming, but at least so far.
Yeah, I've been indoors.
All right. So, but tell me a little bit about what are you hearing out there right now? What are
Well,
things that they would like?
the two main things I would say that I've been hearing is one is they don't know if what they're doing at the board is good or bad. They are wondering is the health department open or is it closed? And then once in a while, some people bring up about the body cameras in Ottawa County because they don't have them installed yet. But it's basically things that pertain to the health department that they heard in the media, or they know someone has been falsely accused by certain officers and wondering if there's cameras on the deputies. Those have been like the two recurring themes. Of course, I do poke at both, and that's why I've been here at the doors is they don't know if the media is telling the truth or not. They don't know if this is really going on. No one really knows how a county government works. I'll even admit myself that there's certain areas that I would like to know better because people are more interested in like, well, who's running for president and how's Congress doing? And I'm like, well, state level matters, county level matters, city level matters. Trust me, I know because I ran at those levels. And even though I did not win, I did learn something. And yeah, there's just a lot of people just need to be up to speed on how certain levels of government work.
What offices have you ran for again?
I have ran for city council in 2007 when it was an open seat, and I did run for city council as a write-in candidate last year. I ran last year as a write-in because the guy I was going to vote for got disqualified. Apparently, he didn't live in the neighborhood long enough, but there's a discrepancy on the website about if it was 6 months or 2 years. And also, again, if no one runs, they just walk in without being questioned or any kind of like stance versus, it would just be nice to know where someone stands if I don't get no literature.
All right. On that note, where do you like? Give me something that you stand for, to best describe to people who would be voting for you. What do you stand for? Because obviously you mentioned you didn't have an agenda, but what do you stand for? How about that?
I typically, if you look at every time I ran for an office, it's basically to fix an injustice or to defend the innocent. Um, to give you kind of example that maybe a little bit of both. One thing I learned in my city council run is in the city of Holland they have clay pipes, and when the roots, when they grow and they break into the clay pipes, they're going to burst. And if they burst, guess what? Somebody who has no idea that that's a thing is probably going to get a really expensive bill because it's got to get fixed one way or another. And even more so in the city of Holland, like with my neighbor, we're connected to the same pipes. So if it bursts, are they paying for the bill? Am I paying for the bill, or is it just one side? So there are some things that people don't know that it's even a thing, and I'm trying to do preventive measures. And if it is an issue, how do we handle that? If I had to say I had an agenda, it's how can I bring more accountability, defend the innocent, or fix an injustice? Because you hear a lot of things on both sides, even a third side, and sometimes I feel like people don't dig enough because they just want to believe their side.
You talked about the Ottawa County government has definitely rattled the cage. Where do you stand when it comes to the things that you described as rattling the cage, when it comes to the policies that either they've passed or policies they've looked to kind of change?
Well, it is interesting, and I've been saying this from the beginning of my campaign. ELE, everybody love everybody, and also myself. I did say on the radio I have intention to upset every group out there because everybody is not right, and everybody needs to have a conversation about things that they disagree on in a more intelligent way versus a rah rah way. Um, one thing I hear at the doors is, these new commissioners, they took some missteps in the beginning of their election or when they sat in office. And I'm like, that's probably true. I would also say that that was then and this is now. And I agree that there's always at any level with any group some kind of waste of government spending. So moving forward, if that repeats again, then yeah, we got a problem. If moving forward, we found ways to avoid those things even better.
Have you found any kind of wasteful spending so far that you would disagree with?
Well, this is one thing I'm still investigating, and I don't want to say too much because I want to be factual. But I will say if Ottawa County had already approved to the sheriff's department about buying body cameras, and now it's been 7 to 8 years and they're still not installed, what happened to that money? Did I get allocated to a special department? Did the commissioners not know, even previous election cycles, that the department moved that money somewhere else to then where it was supposed to be because behind closed doors they're friends, so they're just not going to point it up? There was money approved allegedly, or there was a committee that was going to say how that's going to be done. And it's been 8 years later. So when you have people say that we approved money and we allocate it and it's not getting done, then someone needs to touch base, maybe do an audit. Because the way I understand it is Ottawa County is a decentral county. So really departments decide what to do with the money. It's more of the board that approves how much and when it gets allocated.
Hmm. Orlando, I've pretty much touched base at least on everything I can think of at this moment. Is there anything else you would like to add in?
If they want to learn more about me, go to vote the number 4orlando.com. That's vote for the number 4orlando.com. And in this month of July, I will be having a podcast called itslandolive.com. So that way I can expand more on things that I may talk about with or other people. And people are more welcome to call me, email me. I just know that my goal is to make sure that everybody learns to get along with each other and actually be mature about things. But I also know that if they don't want to be, then yeah, we need to be aggressive. We need to upset every group out there so they can reassess. Because if you don't feel any pain, you may not change your course. But that's kind of where I'm at.